What's up YouTube, Jay Traveling here. Today I got another build for you guys. This was a pretty powerful build. We have the case that I'm going to use is a Cooler Master H500 ARGB case. We have an Asus Tough motherboard down here. It's a Z490 board. That's going to go well with our i7 10700K chip. To cool that, we have a Cooler Master Liquid ML240, just a AIO kit to cool down the CPU. And paired with that, we have an RTX 2080 Super made by Zotac with the triple fan version. To power it all, we have a Thermaltake 750 watt power supply. For storage, I went with a 1 terabyte NVMe drive. Just to keep the PC nice and fast. And then we have 16 gigabytes of RGB ballistics RAM. That is at 3200 megahertz. And then just another RGB case fan for the rear. The main purpose of this build for this customer is a friend of mine asked me to build him this computer, so he pretty much just wants to game on it. So that's why I went with the i7 and not the i9. He's not going to be doing any video or photo editing, just strictly gaming. So it's going to be a very powerful PC. He's upgrading from an i7 8700K with a GTX 1060 in it, so this is going to be quite an improvement for him. So let's get building. Alright, so at this point I got the CPU installed, I got the RAM installed, I got my AIO put together, I got the rear fan installed in the case. Normally I would mount the cooler to the CPU on the motherboard, but since I'm using an AIO and I kind of want to mount the radiator first, I'm going to get the rest of the, well actually this case looks like it has the standoffs in it. A lot of times with Cooler Master cases I have to put the standoffs in, but I'm going to start getting everything inside of the case and then get my power supply and everything installed and try and route all my wires. One issue, it looks like the RGB in the front looks like it's 3-pin connectors, where the AIO and the rear fan are 4-pin connectors. But I believe I have a 4-pin RGB and a 3-pin RGB on this motherboard, so I can still run it all off of it. And the case did come with some splitters for it, so it came with a splitter for the front RGB, and it actually comes with one extra that's capped off here, so I should be able to plug it into the motherboard still, so I can still run it off of so I can still run everything off the motherboard software or the Asus software. So let's go ahead. I'm going to get everything put in, get the stuff mounted. When I do the thermal paste, which is laying around here, when I have it, I'll do a pea-sized dot right in the middle and I'll probably smear a little bit around the edges, but that's usually the method I use. You could spread it with a spreader, not with your finger, but you could spread it across the CPU to make sure it's all covered. But I mean, this stuff's non-conductive, so you're almost on the side of you want to put a little bit too much, not to the point where it's spread all over your motherboard, but a little bit to the point where you know it's going to cover that entire CPU to get it cool. But let's go in and get all this stuff in the case and get it all put together, and hopefully we can get this thing booted real soon. All right, so I got it all put together. It's all in here. So far, it looks like a really clean build. So the motherboard does have power to it. I can see it glowing a little bit. One thing you may have noticed in the video was I swapped out the power supply. And the reason for that is this motherboard that I didn't realize until I got it out of the box, which is bad on my part without doing the research, was that it took an 8-pin plus a 4-pin for CPU power. And that Thermaltake power supply only had an 8-pin power source for CPU. So I swapped it out with a 1000-watt G3 that I had laying around from a leftover mining rig. But it's getting the power. It has all the power sources that it needs. Plus it'll have some extra cables for upgrading later on down the road. Not that this needs it anytime soon. It's got the RTX 2080 Super in it. The i7 10700K with 16 gigabytes of RAM. So really the only place where you may want to upgrade in this build later on down the line in the near future would be the RAM. With games these days, especially AAA titles like Call of Duty, you're looking at pretty much almost 11 to 12 gigs of RAM while you're gaming on that. But let's get this thing fired up. Let's see if it posts. I know that looks very good. This is the first time I used this Ballistics RGB RAM too, and it looks really nice. So let's see, and we got a post. There it is, the motherboard. We got a post. Everything seems to be running pretty good. And there it is, the screen we like to see. That's definitely the screen we like to see when we build a computer. So the only thing left for this is to install Windows, which I'll do for him. I'm not going to do that on camera. I've already seen plenty of Windows installations. But this is probably one of the more higher end builds I've done for a friend. A lot of money went into this build. But thanks for checking this video out. If you liked it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, smash that bell icon. Really make that thumb turn blue with the likes. Keep me going with making more videos. Stay tuned for more updates on my mining rigs and more builds along the way. I got some more budget builds I'm working on, a couple more mining rigs I'm working on. I'm going to get this finish putting this case back together. Just get the glass back on, install Windows, and get it off to him. Might make a video of me benchmarking it a little bit before I give it to him, but stay tuned for that. I'd like to see what this 10700K does. I'm probably not going to overclock it for him. If he wants to get into overclocking, he has plenty of headroom for it with this motherboard and cooling. But thanks for checking this video out. Stay tuned for more.